Hello, beautiful artists. I felt like I wanted to paint one more pumpkin, and I wanted to do it in some really bright colors, and that's what I'm going to do today. So I thought I'd go ahead and share it with you in this video. All my supplies and everything are linked below. I'm using the 100% cotton Meeden, which is 140 pound cold press. I like the cold press because it has that texture. You are perfectly fine using whatever you have. Although, if you're going to follow what I'm doing, you can absolutely use the Artisto, which isn't 100% cotton, but it's fabulous. But maybe just tape down the edges with some painter's tape or something. But that's perfectly fine. If you're not in California, the Artisto is a little bit harder to get, so you can get this Meeden. Again, it's 100% cotton. It's just a little bit more than the Artisto, but I do love it because it's all sealed on every edge. And then at the end, you just slip a little, like a credit card or palette knife in there and lift it up. So it's pretty great for wet and wet. I'm going to, I think I'm going to be using, can't decide. I'm using my paintbrushes. I might play with the 16 round. I might go ahead and just go for that 8 long rounds, is pretty much one of my favorites. And I'm using the Bling paints today. I already have a lot of my paints in here. Let me show you really quick because you guys ask me this a lot. I run out of certain colors in my Bling palette all the time. And they unfortunately don't sell the little half pan. What I do is every time they're on sale, and I'll try and let you guys know if I see them on sale, I buy the tubes, the Bling watercolor tubes. Let me just show you. And then I just refill all my pans. I do go through a lot of the same colors, my cad yellows, olive greens, of course that rose red, but it's pretty handy. And that way I don't have to buy the whole palette. So that's what I do with that. I hope that answers that question. As you know, I love this Paul Rubens. Excuse me, I have a little frog in my throat. I love the Paul Rubens Bling palette. For the price and everything, it's perfect for me. Use what watercolors you have. But definitely take a look at these. They're really vibrant and beautiful. And for the cost, I believe they're probably around $22. I've picked up a lot of sets for around $17 when they go on sale. Again, I try to think about letting you guys know that and I always forget. So that's that. And then, of course, I've got my 2 wells of water. This is the Meeden. I love, you hear me talk about it all the time. Really important to wash and rinse your brush. You wouldn't believe how many times I wash my brush and I go into my paints, and because watercolors is so translucent, I carry over whatever was in there previously. So I try to really be careful about that. All right, this is going to be kind of interesting. Let's just see what happens here. I've never painted a pumpkin that isn't these oranges, so this will be a little interesting. I've got my pink here. I've got some of that turquoise color. Let's see which turquoise I have in there. That is the turkey blue. Let's see, I hope you can see that. Yes, that is the turkey blue. And then my rose red, I have a little bit of that violet. Let me put a little bit more of that in there. So pretty. Love that color. And I was trying to find colors that were a little bit similar because, oh shoot, that isn't what I meant to do. Because if we go to opposite on the color wheel, I don't have my color wheel sitting here. If they're opposite on the color wheel and you mix too much, you're going to get mud. So we don't want to do that. So I'm trying to keep in the blues and the purples, pinks, and some colors like that. All right, I am going to go ahead and go in and go ahead and start. The first color I want to start with, and I really have been sitting here trying to debate if I want to do wet and wet or I want some more crisp lines. I I think I'm going to go ahead and go for the wet and wet. And I'm going to have the light source coming from over here. By the way, if you guys are interested, I can do a kit for this. I've got a lot of other pumpkin tutorials and kits. But this one I wanted to add in some of those fun leaves too. So I almost want the light source to be coming kind of from above. And notice I am leaving some white space here. And I've got no puddle pooling, anything like that. I'm going to go ahead and go in. Let's go in first with, this is going to be harder than I thought for me, because my first thing when I go to lay down this, I think actually I'm going to start with the pink. With the pink, it's just counterintuitive for me because pumpkins are orange, right? So this is a kind of challenging for me. But I really wanted to do one more pumpkin, and I wanted to make it really bright. So there you go. There's kind of our first wash here. Yeah, that's pretty. Might even go in with some of that purple down towards the bottom here. And let that kind of all blend together. If you don't like those hard lines, I just make the edge of my brush there, take the edge of my brush there along the edge, and it softens it. So interesting. A student I had here for a private was mentioning she noticed how much I blot my brush. It's those little things that sometimes I just don't even notice I do, and I'm trying to be really aware of that so I can share it with you guys. And that was a really big help for her. Carol, thank you. It was so fun having her here with me. We got to chit-chat a little bit and learn about each other, and she did great. I'll share a post, and you can see the beautiful flower that she did. And I always have fun meeting you guys in person. I've got that little bit of white space up there. So let me just go in here, lay down some of that rose red again. Leaving just a little bit of space in between there. And this water, I brought the dampness all the way up to the edge of the leaf. So it'll stop at the edge of the leaf, because that's, watercolors only goes where water is. There we go. Maybe add in a tiny bit of that pink. Ooh, so I kind of touched in there. There we go. And I'll just let that kind of spread around. Maybe use a little bit of a damp brush to kind of pull it. But it'll spread out on its own. Just dabbing in wet on wet to the bottom there. And let that kind of do its thing. Wondering if we should even go in with a tiny bit of that turquoise. Again, this is so different for me, and I keep wanting to reach for the oranges, and then it's like, oh yeah, I want to try and do some different colors here. So there we go. And then I'm just going to let that spread on its own. Now I've got a little bit of a hard line there, so I might just go along with a damp brush and pick that up. Kind of late to go into that one. See, I'm getting a bloom because I went in with wetter paint than what had already dried there. And let's go into our next one here. Being mindful of leaving a little white space. There we go. Okay, go in with that pink. Go around that little leaf. Just laying down this beautiful wash. And then again, I'm leaving some white space in there. Okay, a little bit darker at the bottom. Just a touch of that blue. Yeah, I think, look how pretty. I actually really like that. Now here, I'm gonna go ahead and leave that little bit of white space because sometimes that white does have, you know, a hard edge. And then let's just move on to this space over here. Again, just making it damp and shiny, no puddling. Trying to leave that, using that tiny little point and leaving that sliver of white space there. And let's just fill that in. Watercolors makes it so easy because it just automatically is only going to fill in where that water is. It'll just kind of flow on its own. A tiny tip of my brush. I'm actually really liking this pink pumpkin. And I'll tell you, when I went to Trader Joe's the other day, they had blue pumpkins, like a turquoisey blue. Don't think I saw pink, but they had this really beautiful, almost pink. Being careful not to touch this, by the way. Pinky peachy color, which I thought was really pretty. And then also leaving that white space at the top. And now we'll go in there, lay down this wash. So that's what kind of gave me the idea. I was like, oh my gosh, I need, oh, now I just touched into there. Didn't mean to do that. I thought I need to paint a different colored pumpkin. Like, why do I always paint them orange? I need to branch out a little bit. I mean, my goodness, we have our pink brushes now, right? Might as well use them to inspire us. A little bit of purple. And then some of that blue. There we go. I can tilt my paper a little if I want that to run. All right, now the purple and green are opposites on the color wheel, so I think it's going to be really pretty with these green leaves. And I might just add a sliver of color like that, maybe over here. And I don't even think I'm going to be real worried about that hard edge. I think I'll just kind of go with that. And then I've got a couple more little tiny pumpkin slices, if you will. Let's get that wet. And go in with that pink. And this is where, you know, I love these brushes and I love the snappiness of them. So I can get into those tight spaces. I'm going to lift a little bit of that out because I want it to be a little lighter up there. And just darker as you go into that corner over here. There we go. And a couple, oops, sorry, I just hit my head on the camera there. Let's see, what am I looking at here? Oh, I see. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna grab, I didn't finish drawing in that stem. So let me grab my pencil real quick. I thought it looked like I was missing something. I forgot the stem here, so let me draw that in. Let's see here. There we go. Yeah, that's good. Then like that. There we go. Kind of left out a few little pieces. Do these little back slices of our pumpkin. There we go. So fun, isn't it? I love seeing things done in a little different colors, a little different touch. I think it's really fun. Now, do you see I got that bloom because I touched in with this paint? I'm not going to worry about that. It's an organic type of element anyway. So I just kind of re-wet it and went over it. Now it might still leave a little bit of a bloom, but it's fine. All right, so we've got most of our pumpkin colored in. Isn't that pretty? Let's go ahead and go in and do our leaves here. Just going to wet them, and there's a little tiny bit of pink in my water on my brush, but I'm okay with that because I think sometimes adding in some of the color of your flower, or in this case the pumpkin, is totally okay. It brings some coherency to the entire plant. When a lot of times I will add the color of my flower into my leaves. And then let's just go to this one here. Here's another leaf, just laying down that nice wash of color of water, just glistening, no big puddles. And then go into our green, kind of drop it in. And before that dries, I want to just go in a bit. Let's go in with, let's see, maybe a darker green. Just tap in here and there. And we could have also done these leaves in some other bright colors. And then I'm going to take a brown and tap in just a tiny bit. Oops, that's not the brown. Oh, goodness. Forgot. So keep that in mind when you use tubes to refill. It's going to be very easy to pick up a ton of paint because it's like a glob of wet paint, which is what I just did. I kind of like the brown. It's a nice warm touch to the bright pink. I think that's kind of cool. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that. Okay. And I do have a little bit of bloom here, but I'm not going to worry about that. I want to go in now and maybe just add some, if this is dry, it's pretty dry. I'm going to go in with some of our blue. And now this is not wet on wet. I'm just going in and glazing. But what's so beautiful with this glazing is you're going to see the beautiful pink underneath come through, which is really cool. And then just go along that edge, kind of soften it up a bit. Wash my brush. So when I'm softening, I'm going in with what I call a thirsty brush. There we go. That's pretty. Let's go in with a little bit more of that pink. Start adding in some darker values. And then I'm just going to let that go. I can maybe soften it up a bit because I just can't stand it. I have a thing, just, you know, that's the beauty of watercolors to me, is that soft effect. And then I'm going to go back here, just wet my brush a bit, pick up some of that blue, tap, tap, tap the extra paint off, and add that in here. There we go. And damp, thirsty brush, just soften that edge. Let's go ahead and do the same thing here. So go into that blue and lay it down. Now, thirsty brush, wash, rinse, and just start softening those lines. Now, you may like the harder lines. It's just not my thing. So do, you know, what you like. I'm going to tap in with a little bit more of that pink color again, because I just love that pink. Ooh, look at that. That is, oh, that's so pretty. So glad I just did that. And we'll go ahead and do this one. It's just a little bit damp. I'm going to go in with that blue again. Tip of my brush and then side of my brush, so I'm getting a wider amount of coverage. Rinse my brush, go along the side of that with just a thirsty damp brush. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? I wish I could find a pumpkin that had those colors. I think that's really pretty. The blue one was pretty cool. Might tip my page a little bit. And I'm probably going to darken that just a tad with some blue. This one here. Let's see. I'm going to go for that turkey blue. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, look at that. Even pretty down at the very bottom of that pumpkin. Now this is a little bit drier, so it's not going to spread. I might have to just coax that a little bit with a dry, thirsty brush. But it really gives the feeling of that pumpkin curling over. And then let's go ahead and go in and do our last one here. I use the side of my brush a lot too, to get those wide strokes. There we go. Now tap in with that pink down here. And if you can see, I even left a little lightness right there. Might just coax that a bit. And there we go. Look how fun. Let's see, if this is dry, we can do this leaf in the back. Just with a little bit of water. And now go in with our green. Drop that in. Let it kind of spread, do its thing. And I'm going to make this one a little darker because it's in front, so I want it to pop out a bit. So let's pick up a little tree green. A little bit more. And go in here and just with a darker value, I want it to really pop in front of the other one. There we go. Yeah. Now I can even go in there, and you can use whatever. You can use a palette knife, you can use a credit card. I just happen to have these little styluses. They're embossing styluses I picked up on Amazon. And as I'm moving my art studio, I'm finding all kinds of fun things. And Look at that. Hopefully you can see that. It's a fun way to put in some little veins. And let's see what happens if we put in just a touch of purple. Ooh, yeah, I like that. Look at how pretty that is. And again, it brings that coherency. Let's do the same thing here. So I went first with my tree green because I want this one to pop out as well. Just kind of clean up those edges with that beautiful little tip, light pressure. And then I'll go back in. But look at, because watercolors are so translucent, I'm not getting rid of that beautiful little brown touch I put in there. And then I'll go in with a tiny bit of that Payne's gray, not Payne's gray, olive. And just touch in here and there. For some interest. And now we'll touch in with that beautiful pinky color. Sometimes it's just those really little touches, like something like that, adding in that pink color, that can make such a difference. Now I'll go in with my stylus and create some of these little veins. There we go. And look at how the darker ones really pop out. Let's go ahead and give our stem a little glaze over. Don't want to get too close to that leaf or I'll end up spreading into it. And then in the bottom of that, I'm going to add in some more of that purpley pink. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Notice I left some white space there too. I am going to put a little bit of the sienna, or just the smallest touch of some gold right at the tip. I don't want too much because I haven't really got that yellow ochre or gold anywhere else. So I don't want that to be too prominent, but maybe just a tiny hint of it. There we go. And then we'll go back in and deepen in the base of the stem so that it looks like it's kind of tucked in there like that. It kind of draws your eye in. Okay, let's do another leaf here. Aren't these little ivy pumpkin leaves so fun? And I can use the tip of my brush to kind of clean up those edges. First, starting with my tree green. Like that. Then dotting in some of our and here's where, you know, I really give kind of that freedom of the watercolors to do their thing. And then I had just tapped in the smallest, tiniest amount of that yellow ochre. There we go. And next I will go in and put that other glaze in there. We could actually even use this stylus to create some lines in here. So it looks like that stem. All right, keep going. On to our next leaf. Almost done here, and then we'll add just a little bit more to our pumpkin. That tree green. Let it really get washy. Go in for that olive green where it's tucked under this other leaf here. Just like that. I'm gonna let that spread. All right, I don't want to do this leaf yet because this is all wet, and if I go in now, it'll just become one big blob. So I think I want to darken up just a tiny bit the base of these little pumpkin areas there. So I'm going to go in and like that, wash my brush, push and pull, and create so it feels like there's this curling over. Go in again with that pink and come out. Now this is kind of dangerous here because it's right next to that leaf. So I want to be a little careful. Dry brush, just gonna push and pull, but kind of avoid that leaf. I really should have waited till it was dry. And then we can maybe even drop in a tiny bit of that blue up at the top here. Tap off your brush when you pick up that paint because you don't want too much paint on your brush. Like that. Just want it to look like there's some shadow as the pumpkin is coming over. Okay, let's keep moving here. Let's see, what do I want to do next? I think I want to do this little piece of the pumpkin there. Let's see. It's a little bit of dry brush there, which is fine. And then wash, rinse my brush and kind of pull that out, but being a little aware I don't want to get rid of that white space. You could always go back in and add some titanium white or something like that. And before I'm done, I'm also going to add some lines in there. Like in the creases right now, I kind of left them white, which you could definitely do. But I will probably go in and add just a little bit. I'm picking up some blue here. Of darkness, so it looks like there's, you know, the pumpkin is tucking in. Okay, we have a couple more spots in the background here, so let's go ahead and finish those off. Wash, rinse my brush. I'm going to turn my, oh my goodness, I just hit my head again. There we go. And now we can tap in a tiny tad with blue or our pink. There we go. Okay, we got a couple more spots over here. Just tap in. Let me grab some of my, I think this is the, yeah, that's the violet pink, I think it's called, in your My Lang palette. A little bit right here. And this is really some tiny work. So this, you know, it's not completely necessary, but I like sometimes adding in those. And then picking up some of that blue paint, but tap, tap, tap. because I don't want to go in with a bunch of water and touch into the corner. There, I'm loving this. I'm so glad I did this. I'm going to make that a little bit of a shadow around the leaf, like that. And maybe here, although I'm gotta be careful and not tap in too much. There we go. Okay, what do you think? Let's go ahead and do our second glaze like we did on these for these flowers. So I know it feels like, oh my gosh, she's covering up that layer. But again, because watercolors is so transparent, those bottom layers show up. You can see those colors underneath. And then let's go in, dab in some of those little dark, fun touches, and then we'll go in as well with a little bit of pink. But see how dark I'm making these flowers in front, so that way they really pop out. Oop, that was a little too much yellow ochre. And then just the tiniest bit of brown right there, where it's going to have that stem. And here's my stylus. Just draw in some of those veins. But look how unusual, look how unique and pretty this is. And our last, well, not last, we still have to do that one, I suppose. And touch in with some of that, just to give that illusion of that shadow. And our stylus. There we go. All right, we are almost done here. Let's, I feel like I need some more glazing on top of here. So I'm going to add in just a little bit more. And soften that edge. The clean brush. Yeah. You could even add in some of those little lines. I prefer to do it when it's wet, but that's okay. We could do some of that and then just soften the edge. There we go. Okay, I think we're rounding the corner here. Oh, you know, I forgot pink in these leaves. Now it's kind of dry. It's not as wet as it was. That's okay. I just love that pink in there. I think that is so pretty. Yeah, I like that. And a couple of these lines. There we go. Just these little details that can really make a nice difference. up here. Yeah, I like that touch. And you know, I think I'm just going to leave those white spaces in there. Kind of liking those. There we go. So pretty. Love this. I'm going to go ahead and do this last leaf here. I'm just going to try to avoid touching this one so they don't completely turn into that big blob. And you know, I think what I'm going to do too is dab a little bit of the edge of that. Yeah, so it kind of looks like it's in the light more. Then we'll go in with that green. I think it's pretty well dry. Pick up a tiny bit more of that tree green. So layers is definitely your friend in watercolors. Always. Then a tiny bit of that olivey green. Just dabbing in. And when I go in to do this second layer on the leaf, I'm going to make it more vibrant tree green because I want it to pop out in front of this one. Okay. There we go. And we'll do our little stems. I'm going to use an olive green here. Let's do this one first. There we go. And just using the tip of my brush. Look, isn't that green? Okay, so this is contrasting colors and how beautiful they can be when you put them together. There we go. Just going to give that a slight shadow. I'm going to go ahead and do my little, there we go. All right, everybody, I hope you had fun with that. I'm so excited. I have my pink pumpkin. Hi, everyone. I had to hop back on here because can you believe it? What did I forget? How did that happen? My metallics. So I'm in here with the holographic series. This is the MABs. And I just wanted to add a little to the top just to give it a little bit of shine. So I'm going to use the side of my brush and just do that. Maybe a tiny bit over here. Look how pretty that is with this pink and purple. I am so glad I did this, you guys. I was kind of like, do I want to do another pumpkin? And then being at Trader Joe's, I was like, oh, I got to do a pumpkin other than orange. I think I'll do a little swipe right here. There we go. That's it. I'm going to leave it just at that. Let me see if I can hold that up and you can see those beautiful metallics. So pretty, you guys. You could even do some, I didn't do a background here, but you could certainly do a, I think it would be pretty with some green splatters, but let's go ahead and use our purple. Let me grab my brush here. Oh my gosh, look how fun, you guys. There you go. All right, everybody, I'm glad I hopped on and shared this last little part with you. Those holographic, oh my, that was perfect with this purple pink pumpkin. And we also utilized contrasting colors, and look at how beautiful. I used contrasting colors, so opposite on the color wheel, the green and the pink and purples, yet I put a little of the pink in the leaves so it doesn't look too separate. It brings a coherency to the whole painting. All right, everybody, I hope you give this a try, and I will see you soon.